questions. If you have any questions, and I can take one question, because we have passed our time designated to this panel. So, yeah, question in the front.
Okay.
Vera is coming with the microphone.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for this discussion. I'm Nambahori Mamva from the Voice of America. I would like all of you to elaborate on some of the things that we heard from you. So we know that the security issues, security in general, is the number one factor in any discussion with the Uzbek government when it comes to religious freedom. And any steps that we define as a crackdown is a way, as far as they're concerned, a necessity to protect the secular system, to preserve the constitutional regime. And any conversation about religious freedom sort of ends there when they present that, argument. And the recommendations we just heard from you have been given to the Uzbek government before, many times. I'm not, underrating your recommendations. I'm just saying that the Uzbek authorities have heard these recommendations before. Ease the registration, the definition of extremism, and other things, especially when it comes to improving or diversifying religious education. What makes you optimistic? What do you think is going to change now? We know that the Uzbek government is open for engagement, for discussing these issues, but what can possibly change from this point going forward?
I can maybe start. And,
sure.
Just a few remarks on that. We not only provide suggestions at this point, working on recommendations, we also provide the way. So we already brought some partners that can actually able to implement with partnership with the Uzbek government all these changes. And they have experience in other countries, in other areas, and it gives an understanding that it might be very successful. We're not only saying that it needs to be improved or whatever, modified. We together looking for the way and engaging people who could do that.
I think you put your finger right on the question. I have at least two reasons for hope. We'll see what else I think of while I'm answering. The first is this, and this is maybe the most important. Anybody who has experience in the former Soviet space, there's a word in Russian, apparatchik, which means like a bureaucratic mindset, a Soviet mindset. You're going to do the least possible, you're just going to check the box and push people on, just to make the, as they would say in Vietnam, the barbarians happy. We're the barbarians because we always come and visit and ask these questions. And I've seen that mentality many times, even on this trip. But what gives me hope is that mentality is, I think, fading. And the reason it's fading is because Mohammed's friend who was studying with him at the University of Indiana, among many others who have come to the West or gone to the great schools in Uzbekistan, Islamic State, University of World Economy and Diplomacy, they speak 4 or 5 languages to include English, and the next generation is tremendous. So I have a lot of hope in that regard. I also think that there is some openness to thinking about education. The educational establishment has been completely reorganized, and again, the 6-year process, something Karimov did to no effect. They've done it again, and I think I have some hope in how it's being done and how it's being implemented. But I think the key to that process, and this is a question that is very much on the table because we brought it up again and again, how do you, if you get radicalized at the age of 18 and higher, probably when you go out to be a migrant worker in Russia, who is helping you understand the faith from 1 to 18? Who is helping the parents understand that? How is it taught in the home? And there are different perspectives on whether that's possible or not. But it needs to be possible, and it needs to take place maybe through some form of systematic madrasas. That word has a negative connotation in our context because we think Taliban. But if you look at Indonesia, Matthias Ho is in the room someplace back there. We're part of a program that has educated 6,000 madrasa leaders to think about how faith and learning are integrated so that you can serve society. So there might be some possibilities there. And in terms of understanding what a Muslim-based, Islamic-based pluralism is, what does it mean to be a Muslim in this sphere of life, this sphere of life? I think those conversations are starting at the highest level, and that gives me great encouragement.
I mean, just very quickly, you've met several members of the civil society. You had those conversations. Those were outside of the official meetings. What was one thing that you heard from them across the country that you would definitely want the international community to hear, the Uzbek government to hear, something that needs to be addressed?
I think there was, as we've said, I'll say one thing we've said and one thing we haven't said. There was unanimity, and we're not making this up. It is infinitely better than it was before. Even though there were some complaints about, there's been 2 steps forward, now there's a step back. Everybody gets that. But I will also say this, they know they need to move forward. Absolutely 100%. And from what I hear from the government and today's comments and the government folks that I met over there, they want to move forward. And they understand there needs to be more transparency. That is my strong sense, and another reason for hope, incidentally. If it stays stationary, you're going to go to Afghanistan or Andishan. You're going to have a repressive regime through madrasas with too much extremism, or the government's going to choose to repress. And everybody understands that nobody wants that. Nobody wants those extremes of a bad worst-case scenario. So you have to move forward in the name of the nation.
Okay, I need to close the questions, Mohamed.
You need to close.
30 seconds.
So Nadine already, our colleague Nadine identified the 4 areas that need clarifications and improvement. Now, the challenge is that what would be the roadmap to do that improvement? And what gives me hope is that we discuss these things with the government, and they clearly committed. Even in that journey, in the ambassador residence, our ambassador residence, some of the government officials who are directly in charge of some of these areas, they said, we'll do it. So that's really, that would give us hope as well. And they also, the Uzbek, they know the country is very rich, and this is something that I didn't get a chance to touch on, which is the religious tourism. Very rich in religious tourism. And this could be really, utilized, and is going to reflect also with resolving all of these issues. I mean, the stories are amazing. You have like a 1,000 years old Torah in Bukhara. You have the whole synagogue of Bukhara was built because of a Muslim Jewish woman, right? And it was, he said to the person who was building the Islamic madrasas, said, I'm not moving. He said, why? She said, I need a synagogue. He said, I will build it for you. So the only synagogue in the complex of Islamic schools. So you have really rich history that need to be basically utilized. We also saw that we need a strong partnership. The pastors, the Christian religious leaders, and we met with them, they wanted a stronger relationship with the imams. And I think this is an area that we need to improve.
Okay, thank you very much. We're just 32 minutes behind. And this panel, I'm sure we can continue discussion after we finish the second panel. So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Mohamed. And we will quickly move into the second panel, and inviting the second panelist. Yes.